Hey, Brian Kelly here from Zombie Guitar. Here in this video I want to talk about what I call the magic of dominant 7th chords. So I was listening to Love Me Two Times the other day by The Doors, and I came across this pretty cool concept. So, I've heard this concept used before, but not to the extent that I did in this song. So I've heard the song a million times, but I just kind of noticed this the other day, which is why I'm making this video. So they take every single chord that's part of the key signature of E minor / G major, 3 major chords, 3 minor chords, and they just make them all dominant 7th chords. So that's pretty cool. So it's breaking the rules of diatonic theory, and you can break the rules as much as you want, especially when it comes to blues. That's all about blues theory, dominant 7th chords, hybrid sounds, breaking the rules of diatonic theory. Well, that applies to this song. So they take all of these chords that are part of this key signature and then just make them all dominant 7th chords, and the result is this really cool bluesy sounding riff or really cool bluesy sounding song. Alright, so this song basically uses a chord progression from which all the chords are part of the key of G major / E minor, and then just makes them all into dominant 7th chords. So maybe the G major chord within this progression remains just a G major chord, but you could still just make it a dominant 7th chord and it's going to maintain this whole sound. So that's kind of the cool thing that I'm trying to get across here in this video. So anytime you're replacing chords within a key, a lot of times chords that are supposed to be minor in order to remain diatonic to the key, a lot of times those chords will be made major. So whether you want to call them borrowed chords or whatever, that's just a common thing. They just use major chords in the place of minor chords, and it tends to just sound good. And so anytime you're using major chords, you can always use dominant 7th chords too. So major chords, dominant 7th chords, they kind of go hand in hand. So yeah, they just basically took all of these chords and just said, okay, yeah, those are the chords that go together, all dominant 7ths. That's our song. So it's a pretty cool concept. So let's just kind of analyze this chord progression here and just see what's going on here. So the first chord starts out with, it's a E. So it's a combination between an E minor and an E major. So it's basically that hammer that's happening is going between the minor third and the major third of the E major, basically making that a combination between a minor chord and a major chord. So E minor would be this, E major would be this. Alright, so that's the E major part. So it's diatonically it would be an E minor chord, but they're making it into an E major chord. And once you run around the full progression, if you wanted to end this song on an E dominant 7th chord, which I'm going to do after I get through the full progression, you're going to see that E7 sounds like a good ending chord. So E major, E minor, combination right there. Very bluesy trick, combining major and minor tonalities by using the major and minor third. So once it does that, it then moves on to the A dominant 7th chord. So instead they're playing it up here. So that's a A dominant 7th chord right here in this shape. So that note right there on the 8th fret of the B string is the dominant 7th interval. Alright, so you have an E major chord or an E dominant 7th chord to an A dominant 7th chord. And then it has a D dominant 7th chord. So D dominant 7th is actually supposed to be part of the key. So every key has one naturally occurring dominant 7th chord within the key of G major. D would be your 5 chord, the 5 chord is always a naturally occurring dominant 7th chord, so that chord actually is supposed to be dominant 7th diatonically. But then it moves on to a C dominant 7th chord where it goes. So it actually plays it up here using this C dominant 7th chord shape. And then the last part of it goes. So you could even make that G major chord a dominant 7th chord too. Basically, they just took all of the chords that are part of that key, made them into dominant 7th chords, and that's how they got the sound. So I don't think they made a dominant 7th chord out of the G major chord. I think they kept the G major chord as just a major chord, but everything else was made into a dominant 7th chord. So I thought that was a really cool thing. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about in this video. Take from that what you will. So anytime you're kind of just playing chord progressions or making up chord progressions, if you just want to throw in some dominant 7th chords, if you just want to replace some chords that are supposed to be minor with dominant 7th chords, or throw some chords in that are supposed to be major, replace those with dominant 7th chords, the result is going to be a pretty cool sound. All right, so that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time.